Nonviolence. Section. Nonviolence as a limited form of coercion. Despite his participation, or readiness to participate, in armed conflicts, Gandhi's party regarded the profession of faith in ahimsa and loyalty to the, quote, Indian tradition of nonviolence as essential elements in its political and intellectual identity. In the contest with Britain, recourse to arms was excluded. However, as an acute U.S. Protestant theologian observed, see Chapter 5, the moment of coercion was not wanting. The moral and social coercion implicit in the insistent propaganda and widespread agitation conducted by the Indian independence movement, according to which untouchability of foreign cloth was a kind of national and religious dogma, is clear. Let us read Gandhi's Message to the Nation of April the 9th, 1930. Quote, "Sisters should picket liquor shops and foreign cloth dealer shops. Foreign cloth should be burnt." End quote. If not at persons, violence struck at property. But perhaps it did not stop there, judging at least from the description of a boycott of British textiles in 1930 by an eminent British student of the Indian independence movement. Beginning of long quote. Women regularly picketed shops where British-made cloth was being sold. They would follow other women leaving the stores and try to persuade them to return their purchases. More menacingly, they organized siapa, or mock mournings, in which the effigies of merchants who refused to take the boycott pledge were cremated in front of their homes. End of long quote. In this instance, it was people who were targeted, if not by violence in the strict sense, then by intimidation. It must at once be made clear that boycotts of textiles and foreign goods were not invented by Gandhi. We see one in operation in China during the protest organized by the 4th of May movement, 1919, against Japan's claim, encouraged or tolerated by the other imperialist powers, to impose a protectorate on the great Asian country. The boycott of Japanese textiles was also a stimulus to the development of a national textile industry, exactly as occurred years later with the goods boycott promoted by Gandhi. As regards China, a new boycott campaign developed in 1925, and in this case, an important role was played by the Communist Party, which, thanks to this initiative, saw its ranks swell rapidly. Similar considerations apply to another typically nonviolent technique of struggle, strikes. They were employed by both Gandhi's and Lenin's party. As regards Asia, one thinks of the strike wave that hit China and Vietnam in the 1920s. Once again, it is not easy to trace the boundaries between nonviolent coercion and violence proper. Pickets intended to promote the solidity of a strike can become more or less pressurizing and more or less threatening. But it remains the case that, in countries like China and Vietnam, boycotts and strikes were soon made impossible by the advent of a terroristic dictatorship, and, in the first instance, by the invasion of an imperialism that engaged in violence of a genocidal kind. Weapons now have the last word. Gandhi implicitly seemed to agree about the inevitability of such a transition when in June 1942 he expressed his, quote, admiration for the heroic struggle and endless sacrifices, end quote, of the Chinese people, determined to defend their country's freedom and integrity. This statement was contained in a letter sent to Chiang Kai-shek, at the time allied with the Chinese Communist Party. End of section.